This is video number 48 titled Joy 2.0. This video is not exactly like my video Joy number 23. The Joy video number 23 simply explained why you need to possess joy while working on your goals. This video delves into the fact that sometimes you will not feel any joy when you first begin your journey, but that it will come after you have begun your journey. That's why I'm calling this video Joy 2.0. Have you ever set a goal or had a dream that, at first, seemed so inspiring? The idea filled you with excitement, and the thought of reaching that goal was enough to give you energy. But then, as you began to think about what it would take to actually achieve it, that initial excitement started to fade. The motivation didn't come as easily as you expected. The goal started to feel more like a mountain to climb, and the joy, the enthusiasm, seemed to slip away even before you started. You're not alone. So many of us experience this when we're on the brink of starting something new or pursuing a big goal. We assume that if it's the right goal for us, the joy, excitement, and motivation should naturally be there from the start. But what if I told you that the joy doesn't always come before the journey? What if I told you that the real joy often shows up after you begin? This is the concept of Joy 2.0. The idea that sometimes the true happiness and fulfillment don't reveal themselves until you've taken the first steps toward your goal. You might not feel that rush of excitement in the beginning, but as you start moving forward, even in small ways, you will find the joy along the path. It's a deeper, more lasting joy that comes from engaging with the process itself. This might feel counterintuitive because we often wait for motivation to strike before we take action. We want to feel good about something before we start doing it. But sometimes the motivation and joy we're looking for comes after we've begun. And once you understand this, you'll realize that you don't have to wait for joy to start pursuing your goals. You can begin the journey trusting that the joy will find you along the way. Let me share an example of how this works. Imagine someone who has always dreamed of running a marathon. We'll call him Tony. For years, Tony talked about wanting to run a marathon, imagining how proud and accomplished he would feel crossing that finish line. But every time he thought about actually training for it, the long runs, the early mornings, the sore muscles, he found himself lacking the motivation to start. The joy he imagined was nowhere to be found. For a long time, Tony avoided taking the first step. He kept waiting for that spark of motivation, that burst of joy to propel him into action, but it never came. Weeks turned into months, and his dream of running a marathon remained just that, a dream. The idea of running still appealed to him, but the joy and excitement of actually doing it were missing. One day, Tony decided to stop waiting for motivation and just start. He laced up his shoes and went for a short run. It wasn't easy, and it certainly wasn't joyful. His legs felt heavy, his breath was short, and he wondered why he ever thought this was a good idea. But despite the discomfort, he kept going. Something interesting happened after a few weeks of consistent running. Tony started to notice a shift. He didn't dread his morning runs anymore. In fact, he started to look forward to them. The act of running, which once felt like a chore, began to bring him a sense of peace and satisfaction. He realized that while the initial motivation wasn't there, the joy had arrived along the way. It wasn't the finish line that brought Tony joy, it was the process. The more he ran, the more he began to enjoy the challenge, the sense of progress, and the physical and mental strength he was building. The joy he had been waiting for in the beginning finally showed up, but it didn't come until after he had started the journey. Tony's experience is a powerful reminder that sometimes the joy doesn't precede the action. You might not feel enthusiastic at first, you might not have the energy or excitement you expected. But if you take the first step, the joy will come as you engage in the process, as you immerse yourself in the journey. The lesson here is clear. Joy doesn't always come before the journey. It often comes after you've begun. And this is a crucial truth to understand because so many of us are waiting for motivation, waiting for inspiration, waiting for that spark of excitement before we take action. We tell ourselves, once I feel ready, then I'll start. Or, once I feel excited about it, then I'll begin. But the truth is, if you wait for joy to show up before you take action, you might be waiting forever. Joy isn't something that always greets you at the starting line. Sometimes it's something you discover along the way, hidden in the challenges and victories of the journey itself. This concept can be applied to so many areas of life, whether you're pursuing a fitness goal, starting a new business, or working on a creative project. The initial excitement may fade, or it might not even be there at all, but that doesn't mean the goal isn't worth pursuing. It doesn't mean you should give up. It just means that the joy will come in stages, evolving as you take each step forward. So how do you cultivate this joy 2.0, the joy that comes after the start? Here are a few steps to help you tap into this deeper sense of fulfillment as you embark on your journey. Number 1, take action, even if you don't feel motivated. The first and most important step is to take action, even when you don't feel like it. Don't wait for motivation to strike before you start working on your goals. Begin now, even if it feels hard or uninspiring at first. Remember, the joy will come once you've started moving. Trust that by simply showing up and engaging with the process, you'll begin to experience moments of fulfillment. It doesn't have to be a big action. In fact, starting small is often the best approach. If you're feeling unmotivated, break your goal down into tiny, manageable steps. If you want to write a book, start by writing just one paragraph. If you want to get fit, begin with a short walk around the block. These small actions build momentum, and with momentum comes joy. Number 2, focus on the process, not just the outcome. One of the reasons people lose motivation and joy is because they're too focused on the end result. While it's important to have a goal, putting all your attention on the outcome can create unnecessary pressure and make the process feel burdensome. Instead, shift your focus to the process itself. Find ways to appreciate the journey, even if it's challenging. Maybe it's the satisfaction of checking something off of your list or the small improvements you notice along the way. When you focus on the process, you begin to see that the real joy is in the act of doing, not just in the final achievement. Number 3, embrace discomfort as part of the journey. It's normal to feel discomfort when you're starting something new or working toward a big goal. The discomfort can make you feel like you're on the wrong path, but in reality, it's a natural part of the process. Instead of resisting it, embrace it. Discomfort is often a sign of growth. It means you're pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone and moving towards something greater. When you accept that discomfort is part of the journey, you can start to find joy in the challenge itself. Over time, the discomfort will fade, and in its place, you'll find a deeper sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. Number 4, celebrate small wins along the way. Another way to cultivate Joy 2.0 is to celebrate the small wins. You don't have to wait until you've achieved a big goal to experience joy. Every small step forward is a victory, and those victories deserve to be celebrated. Whether it's completing a small task, overcoming a hurdle, or simply sticking with your plan for another day, take a moment to acknowledge your progress. These small celebrations will boost your motivation and remind you that joy is found in the journey, not just the destination. Number 5, trust that joy will come. Trust the process. Even if you don't feel joy or motivation right now, trust that it will come. The more you engage with the journey, the more opportunities you'll create for joy to arise. It might not happen overnight, but it will happen. Remember, joy isn't always a flash of excitement or a burst of happiness. Sometimes it's the quiet sense of contentment that builds over time. It's the joy of knowing that you're making progress, that you're growing, and that you're moving closer to your goals. Joy doesn't always greet you at the starting line. It doesn't always show up before you begin your journey, but that doesn't mean it won't come. In fact, the joy you experience after you've started, after you've faced the challenges and taken the steps forward, can be even more profound than the initial excitement. This is Joy 2.0, the joy that comes after beginning the process. It's the joy that's rooted in growth, progress, and the satisfaction of moving towards something big and meaningful. So, if you're waiting for joy or motivation before you start on the road to your next big goal and you don't feel it yet, take heart. You don't have to wait to feel it before you start. Begin your journey now, even if you don't feel it yet. The joy will find you along the way. All you have to do is take that first step, then keep your feet moving forward. Like this video and leave a comment right now.